Hello and welcome to the Untranslatable Podcast. We are here recording episode 153, and today we are going to be discussing long-distance relationships, especially when abroad, and are they worth it? So stay tuned to find out what our thoughts are. Jared and I have both been in long-distance relationships abroad, and we'll talk about the successes and failures and why we think that they were successful or failed, and what you can do if you are going to be in a long-distance relationship. Whether or not you're abroad or not, it doesn't really matter, but how to handle long-distance relationships. So my buddy, the certified, qualified, and expertise relationship counselor, Jared. What's going on, Jared?
That's true. I am a certified professional relationship expert. That's also why the current divorce rate is hovering around 50% probably too. So, take my advice with a grain of salt. But please
spread a little love.
Follow us on Instagram. It's the namesake of our podcast, Untranslatable Podcast. Twitter, Untranslatable1, the number 1. 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher, please.
Пожалуйста.
You can also look at us on YouTube as we say these words. And you can find our Songs of the Pod that we'll talk about one later today as well on our Song of the Pod playlist. Song of the Pod playlist on our Untranslatable Podcast YouTube channel. Hey, I was thinking about our last episode, shall I say. And I was wondering I actually wanted to ask you this then, but I was like, no, you know what? This is my episode about my American apps. This is not for Chad. But it got me thinking when I was thinking about Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff. Is there like trending topics in China, like trending news?
I would assume so. You're asking the wrong guy. You need to ask somebody who actually can understand Chinese news.
Right, but WeChat doesn't have like top stories or anything anywhere.
WeChat just has moments. I don't know if there's a news or a story
There's
WeChat,
gotta be
you
some
get
sort
like
of news related function.
Probably, I would assume if you follow a news outlet on WeChat, there would be, but I don't follow any news outlets, so that would be my guess. And I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are. But see, it's funny. I've been asked by some people in the United States, what are people in China's thoughts on everything going on in Hong Kong right now? Mm-hmm. And it's a really sensitive topic here in China. If you come to China, what most people will tell you is there are certain topics to avoid. They used to call it the 3 Ts, which is Taiwan, Tibet, and Tiananmen Square. You don't really discuss those 3 topics, but now there's an H added to the 3 Ts, which is now Hong Kong, because of what's going on. When I was in Beijing a few weeks ago, there was this really drunk, I don't know if he was Korean or Chinese guy, because I thought I overheard him telling somebody that he was Korean. But anyways, he kept like yelling, and people. And now, granted, where we were at, it was mostly foreigners, not Chinese people. But he was drunk and he kept yelling like, "Hong Kong is China, Hong Kong is China," and people just like scowled at him, and we're like, "Dude, like, whatever your political belief is on Hong Kong, like, still, like, shut the fuck up, like." You shouldn't be saying those things. This is not the way
to express them.
Right. So I'm sure there is a lot of trending news. The problem is that I, don't follow any news outlets on WeChat, and I'm not on Weibo. So, but I'm assuming a lot of that would probably be more on Weibo based on my little understanding of the social media platform.
Like the format.
Now, I will tell you though, Jared. Thank you. The format. I will tell you though. I do have, my TV is a smart TV here at my apartment. I have it hooked up to Wi-Fi, and I can watch all sorts of shows, series, and also get Chinese news. So once in a while, I will try to watch Chinese news. But the funny thing is, they don't.
Okay.
Well, I have to see if there's an option on my TV to do
probably
subtitles.
I don't know why there would be.
There probably isn't, and if it is, it's probably Chinese characters. But anyways, the funny thing is I pick up words here and there when I watch the news. Usually the word I pick up the most is Zhongguo, and Zhongguo is Chinese for China.
Okay.
So you hear that word a lot.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in Harbin last weekend, breaking the fourth wall here, the funny thing was that I was watching the news while I was eating dinner, And I also heard Meiguo, which is America, and they were talking about something going on with America and I think Iran. Because I saw I don't know if it's the prime minister or what the correct title is for the head of Iran. But there was pictures of Trump, there was pictures of him, and they were talking about it. But I really only picked up like a couple words here and there. So, but my long-winded answer, Jared, for your very simple question is I don't know. But I'm assuming there are trending topics and stuff.
Right.
I'm just not on those platforms.
Right.
It's a good question.
Okay, just curious. Because I always like that's always one of my first places that I go to look on Twitter is the if you go to like the little search button, there's all the trending topics, and I'm like, I wonder what like if chat is keyed in any sort of sense to what's happening over there. Oh,
I'm not, but maybe now I should be. Yeah.
Oh wait, no, that's something. I think that's something completely different. I just saw a hashtag.
Got me excited.
Oh no, I just saw a hashtag. I'm looking at my trending topics right now. Oh no, this is something completely different. I saw hashtag LHHHH, and I'm like, oh, that's what you were talking about. But now that I'm looking at this, I'm seeing. I think it's like something Housewives of Hollywood. Oh wait, Love and Hip Hop Hollywood is what it is.
Okay, yeah, that's completely different. That's for sure.
Yeah, so never mind. Because as soon as I started showing like all these GIFs and memes, I was like, I feel like this is not foreign policy related.
Probably not. You never know, though. You never know, especially on Twitter. I gotta ask though, Jared. Speaking of Twitter, what's been going on in the Black Twitter sphere lately?
In the Black Twitter sphere, why is there something specific you want to ask about?
No, I'm curious about, usually there's a lot of funny stuff on Black Twitter.
That's an interest.
I figured you've been looking at it, but maybe not.
Yeah, but my Twitter, the trending stuff is more generic than that.
Okay.
Oh, although scientists are serious about bringing back Zeppelins for green travel. We could talk. How do you feel about that?
There we go.
If we want to talk about trending topics,
interesting.
We recently talked about modes of transportation. And I mentioned that there's really not much that would make me want to be on a blimp, and I stand by that. But apparently, scientists, according to 10, they're putting in place plans to build a commercial Zeppelin, which is a blimp.
Interesting.
This seems like a terrible idea. Greta Thunberg sailed across the Atlantic in a zero-emission sailboat to protest. Okay, they're just talking. While interest in early dirigibles, which is another. Have you heard of that word before? Dirigible. That's another word for a blimp. Wanted after they proved too slow and occasionally too dangerous. Climate change is making plane travel increasingly contentious. That's true. It is very polluting. Now some scientists are considering airships as a serious Yeah, no, I'm not into it. I don't even feel like reading the stupid article. I'm not into it. I don't want to ride on a blimp. Also, how fast is that blimp going to be? Where are you going? I don't
Might as well take a ship at that point, probably.
Yeah, and I don't want to do that either.
Right. Well, I'm surprised though that there hasn't been a way to. I'm really surprised there hasn't been a way to make airplane travel greener. Can you not put I don't know enough about solar energy, but I wonder if there's got to be another way you can power it other than like gasoline or diesel or whatever fuel they use.
Right. Yeah. I mean, people do talk about the potential for electric airplanes, but that seems terrifying as well, especially if you're going over an ocean or something.
Right. True. That's true. Yeah, who knows? We'll see what the future brings. I'm curious to see what.
But I'll say my Twitter has been very filled with Disney Plus talk this day, and that crosses over into all communities. That's black, white. So
of course,
there's been a lot of Disney Plus talk going out on my Twitter.
Jared, do you have Verizon?
No, I have AT&T.
Okay, because I think if you have Verizon, you actually get a free year of Disney Plus or something like that.
Oh, really? I don't really care. I don't think I care though. I don't think I don't care about any of the really Disney movies. Yeah, there are some Disney movies I really liked, but none that I'm itching to watch. And
what ones are your favorite, buddy?
My favorite Disney movies. Probably Aladdin's up there.
Aladdin's a good one.
Toy Story is not Disney. That's not Disney, is it?
I don't know. I think it's Pixar. But
Yeah, no,
didn't
that's not
Disney buy
Disney.
Pixar?
Yeah, but Toy Story I think was before that.
Right. Are you
Yeah.
a Buzz Lightyear or a Woody guy?
Yeah, maybe I'm not a huge Toy Story fan. I don't really care either way.
Okay. Definitely not then. It's one or the other, my man.
Which one are you?
One or the other. I think you can guess.
You're Woody.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I did have a Buzz Lightyear toy back in the day. So
nice.
we're like a modern day Buzz Lightyear and Woody.
We are. To infinity and beyond.
Oh, that's
There's
my
a snake
line.
in
How
my
dare
boot.
you? I don't even know what's happening anymore. All right, do you want to
Spread a little love.
Of course, Jared. That is
Okay.
one of the big things that we love to do on this podcast is try to send some good vibes into the universe and spread some love with some shout outs. So I have 2 shout outs today, Jared. I don't know why, but I guess I had money on my mind when I was looking for shout outs today. And my first one goes out to Abdallah Chatila, who is a Lebanese businessman who had bought. Now, let me tell the entire story, Jared, before you give your feedback, because I know exactly the moment I say this, you're going to be like, what? But let me
All right,
finish my
I'll
sentence.
shut up.
So, a Lebanese businessman has purchased some very prominent Nazi items and has donated them. Has donated them to people in Israel. I don't know if it was what they are doing with the items. Frankly, I don't really care. But Abdallah Chatila said he purchased the items to prevent them from being used as neo-Nazi propaganda. The Swiss-based entrepreneur, who is from Lebanon, bought and donated the items, Adolf Hitler's top hat, to the Israeli fundraising organization Karen Haysad. The auction had been sharply criticized by Jewish groups. Mr. Chatila spent about 600,000 euros on 10 items during the auction held by the Munich-based auction house Hermann Historica. He is one of Switzerland's 300 wealthiest people, having made his fortune in diamonds and real estate in Geneva. Far-right populism and anti-Semitism are spreading all over Europe and around the world, Mr. Chatila told the Swiss newspaper Le Matin Dimanche. I did not want these objects to fall in the wrong hands and be used by people with dishonest intentions. In addition to the hat, the items he purchased includes Hitler's cigar box and typewriter, as well as a silver-covered edition of Hitler's autobiographical Mein Kampf. His actions were praised by Jewish groups, including the European Jewish Association, which said the auction items held little historic value and would have been bought by individuals who glorified Nazism. So there you go. So, I think that's really great. The crazy thing, though, Jared, and I would agree that I don't know why you would have an auction to sell these things, but apparently the auction featured 147 items specifically related to Nazi Germany, and among more than 800 German historical collectibles from 1919. Now, I will say this about the collectibles. I think those would be good for a museum.
Like trading
because
cards?
These are also, I don't know. Could be
I got
probably,
a Goebbels. Who do you have?
Jeez, Jesus. But the Nazi items, I'm really surprised that they're even allowed to be sold in Germany. Like, Germany usually keeps they run a pretty
that's
tight
weird.
ship
That is
regarding
weird in
anything
general.
Nazi related. It is weird, isn't it?
Listen,
it makes me
I
feel
mean,
weird.
The people that this is the people that this is directly affecting is saying it's a good thing, so that's great. But this all seems so weird to me. How is this? How did he end up at find out about this? Find out about this auction happening. How did he get the idea that this is where I want to focus my philanthropy? I don't know. It's like you also couldn't you have just donated the money to the group without having to buy the because now what are they going to do with it? Resell it? It's like just
I was wondering the same thing.
But if people say it's a good thing and he had a good heart about it, I mean I don't mean to fully shit on the guy. I just still have questions. I don't understand how this is how it's the best way to do it. But hey.
I agree with you, but at least he's trying to make a difference.
It is at least nice to know that it's not going to be a shrine in some in some random bar's basement where people meet every Wednesday to talk about the white race or something.
Right, exactly. My next shout out goes out to a Kenyan teacher named Tabuchi, who has donated 80% of his salary to underprivileged families. So here's the story, Jared.
Damn.
And you may be wondering, well, how is he able to survive donating that much salary? Well, I will tell you, he did win a prize of $1 million, but he also donated 80% of the prize and his salary to underprivileged families. Tabuchi, who teaches STEM education,
but 80% is that's still $200,000.
Still a lot
for him.
Yeah. Right. Tabuchi, who teaches STEM education at Kericho Mixed Day School located in the Pwani region of Kenya, has used his hard-earned money to fund initiatives focused on education, sustainable agriculture, and peace building. He also serves as a mentor for students who are battling poverty. With his tutelage and support, I love that word, tutelage.
Me too.
With his tutelage and support, several students have gone on to receive awards for their accomplishments in STEM. Tabuchi, who won the Varkey Foundation's Global Teacher Prize in March for his continued efforts to empower students in the school's surrounding community, he was awarded a $1 million $1 million prize. Sorry, not surprise, but prize. He said, "I'm immensely proud of my students. We lack facilities that many schools take for granted. As a teacher, I just want to have a positive impact not only in my country, but in the whole of Africa," he said in a statement. "I want to use this award to empower and inspire society. I want to use it to address challenges that society is facing. I've been promoting STEM learning." So I think this is really amazing. It's really great. And he really is an inspiration to not only teachers, but just people all over the world. So I think that's really great.
Yeah.
So Tabuchi, we send you our love. And it's really awesome what you're doing. Keep being
Spread
an
a little
inspiration
love.
to us all.
Yeah. That takes a lot of courage and a lot of caring that I think a lot of people, including me, to be fair, don't have.
Right.
But you know what? I do have a lot of untranslatables. I got those out the wazoo.
You better believe it. Get us started today, Jared.
My first one is Tagalog. Tagalog, is that how you say it?
Tagalog, yeah.
Okay. And it's kapal ng mukha, and it means thick face. Thick face. Not with two C's.
Thick face.
Damn, that's a thick face you got there. Okay, I see with that thick face. That has nothing to do with what the actual translatable is.
Can you give me an example? Can you give me an example? I'm really not sure about this one.
When we were in college, for part of it, we were in a fraternity, or for a good bit of it, we were in a fraternity.
Is it to be drunk?
No, but there was a lot of drunkenness happening around us. It was, and what came from a lot of that drunkenness was a lot of sort of embarrassing activities happening. And people waking up the next morning and either forgetting or not caring. And those people are very thick-faced people. And then they would continue to do it, and I'd say those people would be very thick-faced and not,
So it's like being stubborn.
No, shameless.
Oh, shameless.
Not being afraid to make a fool of yourself,
Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. All right.
I don't know why that example came to me so quickly.
Right. That's a good one, though. I like it. All right. So my first one for you is Chinese, and it is Wei Yu Chomo, and it means literally not yet rain, bind around with silk, which is an idiom from the Book of Songs. But this means when it doesn't rain, plan ahead.
Expect the unexpected.
There we go. Yeah. Or dig the well. I think be prepared. Be prepared. Because I guess the non-literal translation of this one is dig the well before you are thirsty. So to be prepared, plan ahead.
Yes. Yeah, okay. I have another one, and it's Slovene. And it's Kuzla mu verit skače. I have a bitch jumping into their ass.
Have a what jumping into their ass?
Have a bitch jumping into their ass.
Sounds like an insult you'd hear on like back when they used to do like yo mama insults or something. Okay. I'm assuming this is a negative one. Yeah, Jared?
Sure, yeah. Yeah.
Sure. Is this like to like get kicked when you're down?
Have a bitch jumping into their ass. The year's almost over. I got a sales quota, and I have a bitch jumping into my ass to get these units out the door.
A lot of work to do.
Under pressure.
Or you're like, under pressure. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Nice. I have a Russian one for you today. And it is Konie Valisalva, which means a horse did not roll around.
A horse... This is Russian, you said?
This is Russian.
Пожалуйста.
A horse did not roll around.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, stop being around the bush or stop playing games with me. Get to the point.
Nope. Let me tell you this. Let me tell you this story, Jared, and maybe this will help you. All right. So Russian peasants had a habit of giving some time for the horses to lie down before starting work. In due time, the horses would stretch their muscles, but because of this, there would be a slight delay in starting work.
Oh, so it's just like you're slow to get started in the morning, essentially.
Kind of, but not really. This phrase means that what should have been done has not even been started yet.
What should have been done has not even been... Oh, I gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I think I have a great untranslatable here to finish off this this untranslatable segment. It's also Slovene, and it's Skasejo Chev Plot, and it means to jump over the fence.
This isn't like to jump to conclusions.
No.
Is this to take the plunge and get married?
No, but it does have to do with being in a relationship.
That's kind of what I figured. Okay.
But that's not about getting married.
Is this to do a long distance relationship?
No. So it means to cheat in a relationship, to jump over the fence.
Oh.
You know, to maybe
all right.
think about it. Maybe you're jumping over the fence to the neighbor's house.
Right. Mm-hmm. Hanging out with the milkman. Yeah. Yeah. All right. That's fair.
Why have you getting so much milk recently? You been jumping over the fence? No.
Yeah, and I think that is a big concern and a big problem with a lot of long distance relationships, Jared, is cheating.
Yeah.
And I think some of our I don't know if I brought it up really on the podcast because I didn't want to what's the right term to say it? I didn't want to like roast my ex on our podcast, but like that is why my last long distance relationship ended, was because she cheated.
She jumped over the fence.
Definitely, she did jump over the fence. And so, but that is a really big concern, I think, with a lot of people in long distance relationships. And I can tell you that I think one of the main issues with long distance relationships is, especially if you've been living together for a certain amount of time and then you do long distance, is that it's a big adjustment going from living with someone to being completely alone. And I think I think in order to make a long distance relationship work, I mean, really to make any relationship work, is you need to communicate things. And one thing that my ex didn't really communicate with me was before I left, she was having feelings like this wasn't going to work. Mm-hmm. And she didn't tell me about it. And I think she didn't tell me about it because I think she was worried that I would probably break things off with her. But the thing is that we would have both saved ourselves all sorts of heartache and problems and issues if we would have just talked about it. And so I think being able to openly communicate even your biggest concerns and worries in a long-distance relationship before it becomes long-distance and while it becomes long-distance is really crucial.
Yeah, that's tough, though. You know, just communication in general is tough. I suck at it. Luckily, I'm with someone that is good at it. It kind of forces that out of me, even though I still fight it sometimes.
Right. Why do you fight it?
I don't know. I get uncomfortable. You know, when you have to start talking about feelings and start talking about like things I want from another person, I feel like I don't like that. You know.
Okay.
But it usually is very helpful, obviously. But that is also something that a lot of people need to work on. Is not just the communication beforehand, but if you are on that endeavor, excuse me, is to consistently express your feelings though. So
Absolutely.
Be consistent with telling people how you feel about them and letting them know that, because you should probably be doing that in person, like even if you guys are always around each other. But I think it's way easier for people to wonder how it is people feel about them when they're so far away from them too. Where it's like, oh man, is this person still thinking about me? How do they feel about me? And I think it's way more important when you're far away from each other. So
100%, 100%. And I think that's. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
I think that's one of the mistakes that I made with my previous relationship, is that I didn't want to make her worry more, but by me not expressing my feelings and how I felt, because I was concerned that it wasn't going to work, but I didn't want to bring those doubts and make her doubt, because I knew she was already kind of doubting things anyways. But in hindsight, I think regardless, you have to do that. It's tough. It's difficult for everybody. It's even difficult if you're not in a long distance relationship, if you're doubting something or having any issues. But it's really important to communicate those things. And I think if you do have doubts and you talk about them with your partner, unless it results in a breakup, I think it will actually bring you closer and make your relationship stronger.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that. Sure. I still hate it though.
Right.
Another important move to do, I would say, if you are going to do the long distance relationship, make appointments to talk and have it be make it a routine. Because I think it's easy to be like, oh, I wasn't able to do it now because something came up. But if you already have that in your calendar, something won't come up, because it'll be like, no, now I know I have to I have to work around this. And this is already happening at this time, and I can't not be there.
Right. And I think the other thing with long distance relationships is you really have to prioritize your relationship, because when you live together or are in the same state or city or town or whatever, it's very easy to see them, especially like if you're living together, you just come home from work and they're there. But with a long distance relationship,
it's harder not to see them.
Right. In a long distance relationship, you have to really prioritize. And I think that one of the best things you can do in a long distance relationship, and frankly in a relationship in general, is give your partner your time and your attention. Because, presents are nice. Yeah, compliments are nice. There are a lot of things in relationships that are nice, but I think really the most important thing is giving someone your time and your attention, really listening to somebody. And I think that's even more important in a long distance relationship, because all you really have for periods of time is communication. You don't have that physical connection that you did when you were living together. So you really need to prioritize and emphasize talking to one another. So I would agree with you, Jared. You need to set a set time or appointment or schedule, whatever you want to call it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Now I have I have some questions I want to ask you. Now these aren't fully related though. Is it easier to fall in love when you're abroad, and why?
Do you mean like abroad or just in a long distance relationship?
No. I mean, if you meet someone in a different country somewhere, is it easier to turn that in, to fall in love with that person, or be like, oh my gosh, we have to keep this going? If you meet someone in Germany at a Christmas market, and it's like, oh, we've had such a great month together, but now I must go back home. No, please, we can make this work.
That's a great question, Jared. I'm not really sure. I think it really depends on the circumstance and the people. I know that's a lame answer, and I know that's probably not the answer you wanted.
That is a lame answer.
It is. But I think every relationship is different. I think that in a lot of cases, I think there's something different though about a relationship abroad that you don't get from a relationship at home, because I think there are some levels of like excitement and exoticness, but I think at the same time, I think you can personally, I think a lot of times it might be easier to relate to someone who comes from the same culture and the same background as you, because in
that's
theory
true.
you have more in common. But at the same time, I mean, I've been in serious relationships with American girls, also with German girls as well. And at least in my experience, I wouldn't say that I fell in love faster with the girls abroad than I did with the girls back in the States, but I think it was just a different type of connection, very different type of connection. And I think there is some level of mystery to a relationship abroad, which I think some people really like. When I was younger, I liked it. Now I wouldn't go for it again.
You don't like mystery anymore?
I think that's because not really, no. Maybe I'm getting older, Jared, and I like to be more transparent about things. But yeah.
No, I understand that too.
It's hard to say, though.
Yeah. No, I understand what you mean.
I will say this, though, about long-distance relationships. Now, if you've already been together before it was long-distance, I would say that's a whole different ballgame than if you are getting to know somebody on a long-distance basis and then decide to do a relationship. Because the interesting thing about a long-distance relationship is that if you're living at least in different countries and you can't visit very often, it takes the physical connection completely out of the equation. So it's interesting because you really, I think, get to know that person for who they are. And I think it's changed as you and I have gotten older, but I know at least when I was younger, there were definitely relationships I had that were more based on the physical, to not get graphic. Whereas when you do a long-distance relationship, it can't be physical. You know, now it's one thing if you're in a different state or a different country and you can go see them every month, then you can still build that physical connection over time. But if you're, 5-6 months away or 10 months away, you don't have that physical connection. So it's kind of interesting to build a relationship that's not based on like a physical connection. But then it's also a little strange when you are together and then can start to build that physical relationship, because it feels a little uneven, because you have this like deep emotional connection, but you haven't really had that much of a physical connection. So it's kind of interesting.
Do you think a long distance relationship is a good way to test your relationship? Like you're like, well, I have to go away, and I guess this is a good way to find out if we really are meant to be with each other. Since we're gonna have to actually make the effort to just talk to each other with nothing, no other. We're not getting anything else from it. And yeah, I
think I'm gonna give you a Jein, which is German for yes and no. No. You know what? Scratch that. I'm going to say yes. I will give you a yes, because with my previous relationship, I really thought, I'm going to be honest with you, man. Like if it would have worked out with her in the year I was in the Czech Republic, I probably would have really seriously been thinking about proposing to her and getting engaged and maybe marrying her. But it didn't work out, and now I know it was all for the best, and now I'm glad it didn't work out. I mean, she was a wonderful girl, and we had a great time when we were together. But I do think it's a good test. I don't think you should do a long-distance relationship
podcast,
to test it.
Just so you,
she knew I was going to China, actually.
Okay.
So be careful what you say, buddy.
Where's that 5-star review? If you feel so bad about jumping over the fence, the least you could do to make Chad feel better is give him a 5-star review.
Anyways, Jared. Anyways,
so I don't know.
I guess so. I think it can definitely show you how strong your relationship is, but it also shows you the flaws and the cracks or the chinks in the armor of your relationship. Because I had thought that we communicated pretty well, and I realized after I got abroad that like there were a lot of things we didn't talk about before I left that were concerns. There were just a lot of things that like, you start to see some of the flaws if your relationship isn't as strong as you initially thought, which can be a good or a bad thing. It can give you an opportunity to try to fix those things. It can also cause you to drift farther apart or to jump over the fence, and then the relationship ends. The funny thing is, though, Jared, if you would have asked me, even after I came back from the Czech Republic, would I do a long-distance relationship again? I would have told you no. But I have recently had a change of heart for numerous reasons, but I think the main reason is I think if you have an end goal with your long-distance relationship, I'm just going to use you and I as an example. So say Jared and I are a couple. We are a podcasting couple. And maybe Jared doesn't like the fact that I'm in China and we have this really strange time change and all this stuff. And Jared says, no, I want to do only in-person podcasts, or we're breaking up. The Untranslatable podcast will not be together anymore. Then I would say the way to... Obviously, you shouldn't be giving your partner ultimatums. I don't think that's a healthy way to do
this, or else I'll break up with you is never a good...
exactly.
It means you're probably not in a good spot.
Exactly. Definitely not. If you've hit the ultimatum point, then you really need to be rethinking things. But my whole point for this crazy example is that there needs to be some end goal. So I tell Jared to calm Jared down. I go, okay, Jared, I'll only spend this amount of time in China, and then I'll come back to Michigan and focus solely on our podcast with you in person. So I think, obviously, you don't want to make ultimatums, but I think you should come to some type of timeline or plan with your partner. Okay, well, I'll spend the next 6 months doing this and working here, but after that, I'll find a job where you are or near where you are, so we don't have to, because I think most people don't want a permanent long-distance relationship. Maybe there are some people out there who do want that, and there are advantages and disadvantages to long-distance relationships, but I think in the long run, you need to have a plan of when is the long distance going to end.
Yeah, I mean, of course, you can't, I agree. You can't live like that forever, and it might start seeming like forever if there's no actual end date to it. Like, we know when you were in Czech Republic, you're like, well, I'll be back in 10 months. That's the end date.
Right.
And so, yeah, no, I completely understand that too. And I agree. And I think it also makes it harder to, or easier to like stay committed to it if you have like something to look forward to, Or it's like, who
Absolutely.
knows when this will stop being like this. You said there are some benefits. What do you think are some benefits of a long-distance relationship?
Benefits of a long-distance relationship? Well, I think one with how do I say this?
You have your bed to yourself? That's nice.
I don't know, man. I'm a cuddler. I like having
I can't sleep like that, though.
My special someone in my bed. But yes, well, I would say you get to... I don't know if this is really an advantage or a disadvantage. It depends on the person. But you get more solitude and you can live your own life. But I think at the same time, like, the whole point of being in a relationship is to share your life with someone. So it really depends on what you like and what you're into. I just know that some people really like having the freedom and independence that you get from a long distance relationship. So I think that maybe for some that's definitely an advantage.
That's a good way to put it, though. The independence, I think, is the key. The key part. Not that you can saying you can live your own life does seem a little harsh, but it is nice sometimes to have the freedom to go places where you want and not be on that kind of schedule. Now, maybe you have a schedule where it's like, we're gonna talk on the phone at this time, but you're not like constant. Right. And maybe there's less of the, like, I'd say, it really is just the freedom. And I would also say this is kind of like a consolation prize, but absence does make the heart grow fonder. I'll say that.
It definitely does.
And so when the reuniting does happen, that's usually that's usually a good experience. A lot of happy emotions. Oh my gosh, we did it. Oh my gosh, hey, oh look, we're seeing each other again. I would have never thought. That's nice. I like that.
I think another big advantage of long distance relationships is, well, now granted, these are all, when we're talking about this, we're all talking about healthy long distance relationships, right? But I think another advantage of a healthy long distance relationship is I think you really get to appreciate your partner and the bond you have and your relationship. Because it's not easy to do a long distance. I mean, relationships in general aren't easy, let alone a long distance relationship. You might be battling different time zones, completely different schedules, feeling like you're not a part of that person's life anymore, which can really be a really negative feeling. When your partner tells you all the great things they've been doing.
Yeah, seeing them have fun without you.
Right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think it does make you really appreciate and not take the relationship for granted. Because I think it can be easy if you've been dating someone for a long time and you live together, everything becomes normal, right? But then when you're apart, I think you do, and this also is kind of related to your absence makes the heart grow fonder. I think it does make you appreciate even the little things that you maybe took for granted when you were living together or not doing a long distance relationship.
I can definitely relate to maybe starting to feel like a burden if you see like your significant other via social media or like while talking to you, talking about how much fun they're having or like how great their friends are and all that stuff. And it'll be like, oh yeah, but now you have to come back at 9 o'clock from your fun times to come talk to me. It's like, I'm really slowing you down,
Right.
I could see how that
you just can't have that mindset. You just can't have that mindset. Because I think at the same time, they wouldn't, usually I would say they wouldn't be doing that if they didn't want to. Because I think another important thing about making a long distance relationship work, Jared, is you have to also be flexible. If something pops up spontaneously and they're like, well, there's this really cool event going on, in downtown Ferndale right now, and I really want to check it out. I think you also need to be flexible and be willing to make a lot of compromises. And that's with a relationship in general, let alone a long distance relationship. But you also have to tread the line lightly and carefully, because if you're doing this all the time when you have, your scheduled talks, maybe what you need to do then is find a different time to just talk regularly.
Yeah. I feel like now as I have this conversation, I feel like I'm better equipped for a long distance relationship because we do this podcast. It's kind of like our long distance relationship.
It is in a lot of ways.
How do you feel about arguments during a long distance relationship? They never get solved.
I would disagree with that. I think they do get solved. I think they can get solved. But once again, I think you need to be completely honest. You need to really communicate openly.
Arguing through text messages is a shit show.
Yeah, don't do that. No. You really should not do that. You need to talk.
That only
either on the
ends
phone
bad.
or Skype. Yeah, because text messages, it's hard to interpret the tone.
Yeah.
It's really hard to interpret the tone and yeah.
How's she going to know I'm being passive aggressive and not serious about what I'm saying?
Right. All Jared does is passive aggressiveness, people. That's all Jared does. But yeah, I would say with arguments, you can't rely on text messaging only. And I also think that you need to really try to, and once again, a lot of these tips work in a regular relationship as well, not only a long distance relationship, but I think a long distance relationship, it's even more crucial to, you need to really try to empathize and see where they're coming from. Because sometimes, you may be accustomed to long distance relationships, but maybe your significant other, this is their first one. Or you may enjoy a long distance relationship, but your partner may really be struggling. And so you have to really try to, what's the phrase, Jared? You have to really try to walk a mile in their shoes and really see how they're feeling in order to solve, I think, a lot of arguments.
Yeah.
But don't do text messages. Yeah.
No.
You text each other, but don't argue via text message.
I've had arguments get way
dangerous.
worse because, just because of a typo,
That's true. That's true.
Where it's like, no. That's not what I meant. So yeah, I think I'm with you on all of this. I try my hardest in general to just avoid them, And it's easy now that I'm back in the U.S. and all that stuff, and I'm not in school, and I don't have a job that really requires much movement.
Right.
But I'm not. I feel like I'm not equipped for it, and I don't like it. I don't want it.
Right.
I've done it before too, and it's just like I feel
Right.
like I don't know.
It's difficult. They're not easy, but I think if you're with the right person, and like we said, you do have that end goal, I think it's worth it. Now, the interesting thing, though, Jared, is even 2 years ago, I wasn't at the point in my life or my career where I felt like I could up and move for a relationship. But the funny thing is now I feel a little bit more settled in my career. I feel more confident in being able to find a job almost anywhere I go. Now, obviously, the pay will be different. The quality of work, the quality of life will be different. But now I'm actually at a point in my life where I really I hate the term settle down, but I really want to find that person that I want to spend my days with. I think that's a better way to put it than settling down. And my whole point for this is that I think that you need to be at a point in your life either where the relationship is so important to you that you are willing to give up a potential job offer to move with that person to make that end goal not be a long distance relationship, or you need to be a point in your career where you feel confident enough that, all right, if I need to move to a different country or a different state, I could do that with this person and find a job and everything would be okay financially.
Are you willing to not ever move back to the U.S. like a Steve Walsh style?
That's a tough one. Maybe. But see, here's the beauty as a teacher, Jared. As a teacher, if I continued, my career as a teacher, I at least could, in theory, come back every summer. Now, it's not ideal, and it's not. True. I don't see myself living abroad permanently, but you also never know where life is going to take you.
I bet you Steve Walsh would have said, I brought him up because he did that. But right. I bet you he also probably didn't see that happening when he was first coming here. Right. So, right. Or not here.
But I think Prague. I think at the same time, though, too, if your quality of life is better abroad than it would be, I'm not saying this because of Steve as an example, because I think he had a very good quality of life back in the States before he moved abroad. Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of it also depends on your career options, your quality of life. I'm not going to lie to you, Jared. I am not 100% sold on raising a family in the United States. Unless you have a good job with really good health care. If you have any serious health issues or your children do, it's incredibly expensive. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know it's a cliche and a stereotype, but I also worry too about, are my children going to get gunned down in their classroom?
I mean, it's very valid. That's a very valid concern these days.
So, I mean, raising a family in the United States, I'm not sure if it's the best country to raise a family. I know at least in Europe, there are really good social programs. I'm not so sure about China because I don't know enough about it, but it seems like the quality of life here for kids in China is pretty good. The only negative thing that I've seen is parents really overwork their kids here, but that's also only because they want the best for their children. It doesn't come from a negative place, but whether or not that's healthy is a whole different conversation we can have.
Right. Yeah. I'd agree with you. So, you think you're willing to dabble in it? You're just now. You have. It's not even that you're more like you're more aware. Let's put it this way: you just have more experience. You just know what to look out for better and how to prepare for it better. That's what I'm looking
in a long distance relationship. You mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%. And I have to say that I want to thank all of the girls that I dated in the past, long distance or otherwise, because although we're not together anymore, they taught me a lot. I learned a lot from my relationships. I really do treasure the time we had together. I think there's maybe only one ex really that I have bad blood with. And you could probably guess which one that is. We will not say her on the podcast, but you could probably guess which one. Airing all my dirty laundry today, I guess.
I think this is clearly a good sign that it's time to go on to the song of the pod. Now that you're giving shout-outs to just your girlfriends overall.
Let me just say this before we get to the song of the pod, Jared. The whole reason why I said that was I think it is really important to have enough experience in your life and in relationships to know whether or not you can do a long-distance relationship. But if you are on the fence about it, whether or not the relationship will be successful, just communicate with your partner. Really make sure you tell them what your doubts are, what your concerns are. Also, though, too, like why do you want to make this long distance relationship work? But anyways, let's talk about.
I have actually, now that I think about it, I know I said I was gonna. I have one more tip: sending physical letters. That small amount of effort goes a long way when in a long distance relationship. So occasionally sending physical mail is a useful tip too. Try it out.
Oh, absolutely. All I would agree. Well, tell us about the song of the pod today, Jared. Who is it and what's the name of the song?
This song is called. I'm pulling up the name of it right now. This song is called Nisma. Did you ask me to say it because you don't know how to pronounce it? Because you're the one that sent me the song.
Yes.
Okay.
But it's French. I know you have more French experience.
Yeah, his name is Niska, and the song is called Bâtiment. And he's a French rapper. And I like his style. French rap is a good combination. You've heard of this guy. You heard of this guy from Colors, and Colors features a lot of multicultural artists and a lot of great French-speaking hip hop artists too. I found a lot of good French hip hopists, and he's another good French hip hopist. He also has sections where he raps like super fast, like double time, triple time. I like that a lot. Reminds me of like Twister or something.
Really cool. Yeah.
But yeah, just the
Busta
French
Rhymes.
Yes. The French language is very conducive to hip hop, and this is a great song. I like it. It was a great choice.
Yeah, I like his flow. It's the music video is also pretty cool. He's sitting in a basketball hoop at some point.
Yes.
He's walking an alligator on a leash with diamonds.
That
was something else as well.
Taking stunting to the next level.
Gator. That's right. Is that how you know you've made it, Jared, when you have a pet alligator on a diamond leash?
I think it's when it doesn't have to be specifically an alligator, but when you have an unnecessary animal of prey, like Mike Tyson used to have that tiger.
Right.
Sometimes you could I've seen pictures of like a Middle Eastern guy driving around and
the cheetah.
Yes.
Yep.
That's so just unnecessary big cats or predators is a sign of making it. And so I think the alligator is an extension of that.
Oh, for
But the
sure.
alligator is kind of like that's not as hard because you don't need to put much of a constraint on an alligator's mouth for it not to open. And the alligator mouth is really its only main aspect of danger. So once that's closed off, it's not really dangerous, is it? I mean, I don't want to be around it. Let's be clear.
I don't think so. I think their tails are also very powerful. But I don't think they can
imagine
kill you with it. Maybe they could. I don't know. It's a
Just
good question.
beat you with it?
Yeah, it's an awesome song.
That'd be hilarious to watch.
Really good. Great flow. So yeah, check that out on our YouTube channel, Untranslatable Podcast, on our Song of the Pod playlist, and bump it because it is a good one. We definitely think you'll like it. So Jared, my Chinese word of the pod today is guanxi, and guanxi means relationship. And guanxi, though, in China is interesting because it refers to relationship, but guanxi also refers to how people build relationships here in China, which is I do something nice for you, you remember that, and then when I ask you to do something nice for me, you also do that. So it has kind of a different connotation here in China, I believe.
It's very tit for tat. It's like,
yes.
I did something good for you, don't forget that.
Right. You scratch my back, I scratch yours.
Is that I'm not even going to go there. My Spanish word of the pod is novio or nobio or novia.
Girlfriend or boyfriend.
Yes.
Novio, novia.
Have you heard of that before? Did you know that?
I'll give you a bonus. I have. I'll give you a bonus one, though, Jared. I'll give you a bonus Spanish word. This is Chilean Spanish. And in Chile, they actually, in Chile, they call their boyfriends and girlfriends pololo and polola. It's kind of a fun fact for you. And that means boyfriend or girlfriend. I don't know why they use that word.
Is that chicken based? Does that have anything to do with chicken?
It's not. Well, I don't think so.
But that's a different word.
Yeah, pollo. That's a different word. But yeah,
Right.
I just remember my good friend Robert in high school teaching me that one, and I thought that was really cool because he was showing me the difference between proper Spanish and Chilean slang, and that's a super popular word. It's pololo.
When I was pulling the Spanish word of the pod, there was a part of me thinking this is the dictionary version of it, but I know there's got to be a more chill way to say that I'm not getting.
No, I think that's pololo is slang, but I think that's I think novio and novia is just the common term for it. Boyfriend, girlfriend. We don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's true. That's what we say. Yeah.
Right. Main squeeze.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that one in English. That's a good one. Well, Jared, I think it's time to recap our episode today. And I think we definitely talked about a lot of good tips in long distance relationships. I will say if it's with the right person, obviously, I think they're still 100% worth it. They're not easy. You really need to take a lot of time. You need to really put a lot of effort into not only communicating, but still expressing your feelings and letting your partner know that how you feel about them. Because I think when you can't give them any physical affirmations of how you feel, all you have is communication. So you really need to use that. You need to prioritize the relationship. What else am I missing, Jared?
You need to, as I said a second ago, send physical stuff. Maybe have events or activities you guys do together. Maybe watch a show together or something. Mm-hmm. Because that's another thing. This is a weird thing that I just thought of. That's another thing that I've struggled with in long distance relationships is having things to talk about. Because you don't really have as much stuff in common anymore, you know, like right. you run out of commonalities. So I think having things that you still can manage to do together, even long distance, helps. You know, have some of that, just something to talk about. You know.
Absolutely. And I would say a tip of that, Jared, is, well, maybe this is a bad tip, but I would say sometimes, too, you just have to embrace the silence. Sometimes, you know, you just have to, you have to acknowledge that you've talked about everything, but I think there's also, this may sound weird and kind of silly, but I also think there's something comforting of just being on the phone or like FaceTiming or Skyping with someone where you can see them, and it makes the distance feel less because you're still kind of with them. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, like you're with them, and you don't always have to fill up that time with it. Yeah, it's kind of like a replacement for if you were with someone, in the same location. You don't always have to be talking to each other just to be around each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important to keep in mind.
I'm with you on that, but I struggle with just long amounts of silence. I always have headphones on, or I'm always listening to something, so that would be a little tough for me. But
embrace it, buddy. You got to embrace the silence. And the last thing too with long distance relationships, I think if you want them to be successful, you really need to think of that end goal. You know, am I going to move where you are? Are you going to move where I am? What is our timeline? How are we going to make this work? Because it does seem very futile and foolish to continue a relationship when there is no end in sight. When it's like, well, we're just going to be separated for 4 or 5 years. I mean, yes, there are some success stories of people doing that. I personally don't know how they do it. I think my threshold for a long distance relationship, now it obviously depends on how often you could see them, but I would say if I couldn't see them, and if we didn't have an end goal in sight, I don't know if I could go much longer than a year or a year and a half. If there's no end goal in sight.
In theory, I'm with you, but that seems like a long time too.
Right. Although it is a long time, I also think, and this was always kind of my response when my ex was concerned about 10 months, is I told her, well, 10 months isn't that long if you spend your life together.
Yeah, that's true. Wow, that's deep, Chad.
It is deep, isn't it? And I think on that note, that's where we'll end today's episode, because I think that's a good, period or exclamation point on today's episode.
You betcha.
So if you have any tips, though, on long-distance relationships or want to tell us a story of your successful or even failed long-distance relationship, shoot us an email at untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. You can see all sorts of pictures of Jared's and my bromance and our long-distance podcasting relationship on Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast. And if you need some new songs in a foreign language or want to learn a little bit more about foreign culture through music, check out our Song of the Pod playlist on YouTube, Untranslatable Podcast. And lastly, please, 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher. Let us know how we can make this podcast better for you. We would really appreciate it. So, as we say here at the Untranslatable Podcast, Děkujeme, muchas gracias, and xie xie.